so today we're going to take a look at some improv. Improv is basically improvising, making stuff up and, adding in little bits and pieces off cuff. This is actually quite a structured thing. It's not sort of over-expressing yourself and playing random stuff and, this is me and this is that kind of thing. Although that does play into a degree, everyone's going to play differently and all that. But the point of improv is to be able to improvise with a piece of music and it still sounds great. So we're going to look at a few things and a few ways to do that. First thing we've got to look at is, well, the easiest thing and the sort of simplest thing to do is isolate the rhythm, the tempo and the key of which the music has been played in. First one we're going to look at is the sort of one of the strumming patterns I've showed you in the previous video. It's this strumming pattern. We're going to take a look at that and we're going to use that to learn how to improv. That particular 12 bars played in the A pentatonic. So go over your A pentatonic, go over the chords and the strumming pattern for this particular exercise. Alright, so once you've got your strumming and you know your scale and you're in the right key, what then? You're going to want to learn a few techniques and sort of explore that sort of stuff, which we're going to get onto at a later stage. Basically what I want to show you is how to do the basics in improv, and so it doesn't seem so daunting. If someone else is playing and you want to play along, you're not completely lost and you're not completely out of the loop. So first thing, find the key they're playing in, or let them tell you or show you what key they're playing in, and then find the appropriate scale. We're kind of keeping to the simple pentatonic scale. We're going to do a little bit of a bluesy pentatonic scale for this. Alright, so what we do is we isolate that strumming pattern. And what we're going to do is basically go, and that's where we're going to stop. And then what we're going to do is we're going to try and improv the rest. So it's not just sort of playing chords, you're going to be playing a little bit of lead and a little bit of scales and that. So, what we're doing is we know that's an A, we know the first 4 bars are A. So what we can do is we can find another A. We can use this octave. It's 1 octave up, but that's also an A. So what we can do is, that's how we would continue the strumming pattern or the rhythm. Alright. So it would be down, down, hit, down, down, hit. Or we can do this, down, down, hit, down, down, hit. Right, that's a very basic thing to do. We obviously want to incorporate a little bit of scales and sort of spice it up so it make it sound a bit more interesting. So we're going to do that. I'm going to show you a few techniques. You can put your own in, you can make your own up, you can do all that sort of stuff. Here's a couple of sort of common things that are played on the guitar, more specifically towards the blues. Alright, we're going to do that 4 times, just for now, the basics. Because those are your first 4 chords in your 12 bar. We're going to go down, down, hit, down. And then we're just going to play a little bit back in our scale. So that's the scale we're playing, and we're just starting on from that A, and then we're going to go back in the scale. And it looks like this. You can start spicing up a bit more and you can do a hammer on to that A. So, and then you finish that up. Alright, so that's your first example. That would be 4 times. It's a bit boring. So that's why we would play different techniques and other sort of techniques. So I'm going to show you another one. You're going to do from the 5th fret, hammer on 7, and then on your next string, 5th fret, with a bit of vibrato. And you can practice getting that a little bit quicker, or you can do it slow. Or you can do... It doesn't really matter. So for now, keep it simple. Alright, so those are your 2 techniques. Let's just do that one a couple times in a row. Alright, so those 2 techniques together. And those are your first 2 bars of a 12 bar. Now you can do other things. Instead of doing a hammer on, you can do a slide. And you can actually just hang there and wait. There's so many very different things you can do that it becomes sort of overwhelming. So don't stress too much. Basically what we want to do, especially in this video, is just know where to play and how to isolate the rhythm and how to play along. So the main important thing is that you get into that A. There's other A's, which we can go higher. There's lots of different techniques, so we're going to go over more techniques in further videos. Or you can learn some more techniques on the internet, figure out what key they're in, and just transpose this for the A pentatonic. Alright, so those first 4 bars, we're just going to play one technique, alternate, one technique, alternate. And with time, the point of improvising is to improvise, to make stuff up. So once you've learned these 2 techniques, you can do other things to it. You can speed them up, you can add extra notes in, you can do all sorts of stuff. So those 2 techniques in the first 4 bars of your 12 bar would be like this. Okay, so practice that, get used to that, play it a couple of times, and we'll move on to the next chord. You can also add in extra notes and get fancy if your technical ability is a bit better, so you can be... So you can add those in if you already know that. If you don't know that sort of stuff, then just with patience, we'll go through it and we'll learn a whole bunch of more stuff. Alright, first 4 bars, let's do that one more time. Second chord in your 12 bar is the D. And we're going to do, basically we're going to do the same thing that we did in A, except we're going to transpose it into the next chord. So from here, your next octave is over here. And we're going to do exactly the same as we did in the first one. So we're going to do exactly the same in the D. That was the first sort of technique. Then in the D, your second technique, sorry, it is. Like we did in the A, you can do the same thing as string down. So 5th, hammer on 7, and then 5th. Alright, so let's just recap over that D. It's going to go like this. There are only 2 bars in the D, so we're only going to do one of the first technique and one of the second technique. And make sure you're going to that D. And the second technique. Starting on your D, then you're going back in your scale. Then starting on your D, hammer on, back to that D, and then you play that E. Alright, so those 2 bars, those 6 bars we're going to do slowly together. First technique, second technique, first technique, second technique. Then onto the A, then onto the D, first technique, second technique, and then you're pretty much on the home stretch. Alright, so that's going to look and sound like this. And then in your 12 bar, you're going back to your A, your first chord, and you're going to do that for another 2 bars. So you could just do the first technique and the second technique. Alright, so to recap on all of those techniques for the first 8 bars, you've got 4 A's, 2 D's, and 2 A's. So 4 on your top row, and then 2 and 2 on your second row. And that's going to look and sound like this. Now we're going up to E. Just do that. The reason I'm going to go up to the next note and I'm going to play this E a little bit different is because ultimately you don't want to be playing the same thing over and over. You want to experiment, go a little bit higher, but also go a bit lower, so that you can create cooler techniques and start experimenting and playing away on different parts of the guitar. That's the whole point of improv, is to improvise, make stuff up. Alright, so for the E, that's your chord over here. You've got your octave over here, which is the same E we're going to go to, and it's going to go. And then we're going to do the same sort of thing, hammer on, 7 to 9, and we're going to play that 8. That's part of your little higher extension. If you go back to some of the previous lessons on pentatonic scale, and I show you a little higher extension, all you're really doing is just playing notes leading higher in the scale and going up in the octave. So E, that's all you're going to do. And that's on your last row. There's only 1 bar of that, so that's all we're going to play for the E. Then we've got to go to your next chord. So after that, it goes back down to the D. And we're going to also do that once. And then we're going to do the hammer on to that E. So you're basically going E, D, and you're just playing the same sort of thing shifted down. So that's your E, A, not A, D. Now your second last bar, your A. And you can do the first technique, or you can do the second technique. And then you've got your last chord back to the E. Or yeah, now you can just resolve and you can stop there, or you, as in your last bar, or you can continue and you can play on. So you'll kind of set yourself up. Do I kind of keep it chill and slow down and stop, or am I gonna keep going? So the last one, you can do anything you want there. We're just gonna kind of end as if we're done. That's it. You kind of end on your A. So for that last chord, you don't really have to do much. Alright, so I'm going to play the whole thing through and I'm going to end. I'm not going to repeat it, I'm just going to end. If you are repeating, you can just do that. You can play your E. You can even go back. I'm going to leave that last chord for you to decide. so you can actually improvise. So once you get in the concept of improvising and you're realizing it's actually quite structured and you're being quite specific with what you're doing, that last chord I want you to just experiment a little bit. You can go with a fail-safe and you can use the first technique or the second technique, or you can experiment, which is what you should do. You should try just experimenting on one chord at least. So the whole thing, all the way through, I'm going to play it once and end it. And this is just something for you to refer to. So you can practice your strumming, you can practice your chords, and then you can practice kind of putting in some little leady bits and bit of scale work, and then slowly from there you'll develop a bit more and be able to do your own thing. Alright, so let's do the whole thing. Okay, so that's basically the lesson on improvising. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. You can find us on the Sound of Art Cape Town. You can on Facebook as the Sound of Art Cape Town. You can leave your posts and your comments and all that sort of stuff. We'll get back to you. Alright, hope you enjoyed the lesson. Thanks for watching.